What do you do when you lose everything and have to rebuild your life from scratch in your 40s? I talked with Adam Schell, a former Big Ten linebacker turned chef, turned novelist, turned cannabis entrepreneur, who went from nearly broke after a total industry collapse to building BrainSupreme into, well, I'll let Adam tell you.
I started with an idea and a belief that microdosing could be used as like the ultimate form of life supplementation. Cost me about $85,000, and we're going to do a little over $1 million this year. So we've been doing something right, and I'm really thankful for that.
Adam, thanks so much for joining me today. Tell me about yourself and what do you sell?
So my name's Adam Schell. I'm the founder of BrainSupreme. We're a life-optimizing premium microdosing supplement. So we take minute amount, a microdose of a proprietary form of cubensis mushroom that we developed, and we blend it with herbs, nootropics, and amino acids for kind of a premium supplementation, life-optimizing effect.
Did you do any other kind of work before you started this business?
Oh, yeah. So I went to Northwestern University on an athletic scholarship. I was a Big Ten linebacker, studied film there. I came out of that. I was kind of doing chefing as like a side hustle, but so I got very good at cooking, but I directed commercials, made some short films. Then I moved to LA, got more involved in writing, got involved in yoga teaching because I was very injured from playing college football. Wrote a novel called Tomato Rhapsody. It was a big book, sold really well. Then a lot of things went wrong after the book, namely Michael Jackson died the day the novel came out. And then that, through a whole random series of circumstances, led me into the cannabis industry. I became not really a weed guy, but I just ended up becoming really successful in the cannabis industry. And then I had an MC Hammer collapse. But the whole time I was developing the cannabis space, I was researching, developing this microdosing supplement called BrainSupreme, which we spent about 7 years researching and developing and really going for. So I have a long, kind of very varied history in business and life, and most recent incarnation is as the founder of BrainSupreme.
So you worked in the cannabis industry. That was kind of as an entrepreneur as well. Is that?
Yeah,
right?
I owned a distribution company. So, which was it's not nearly. I don't know whether it sounds glamorous or not, but I was a potato buyer essentially. I was a produce buyer. But when the produce costs $1,000 a pound, the boss tends to do the buying. And when you're traveling with $250,000 to $1.5 million in cash, the boss goes along for those trips. So I had a security team and a couple cannabis guys and a couple Sprinter vans and had 100 farms on the Rolodex, and we would travel up to Northern California. We would go to some of the farms. It was a crazy, really kind of fun and interesting time. Then from a business standpoint, I got out of my lane. I ended up buying farms. And within 2 years, I had lost everything, literally millions of dollars. So we had, the first year we had fires, so we lost about a projected 50,000 pounds to smoke damage. The price was collapsing, the market was constricting, COVID, all the craziness, overproduction. So we had to double down, even though the price was collapsing. And then by the second year, we were all in on the harvest. I was taking out loans, everything, man. It was a disaster. And then we had this inverted atmospheric river. We had 11 days of constant rain. And I lost 50,000 pounds again this year to mold damage. And then after that, I was ruined. Tucked tail, moved to Texas, really kicked into high gear with BrainSupreme, have kind of recreated my life since then.
That was part of the inspiration behind BrainSupreme, or had you started BrainSupreme before?
I had started BrainSupreme when I was cash positive. So I lived in this neighborhood in Southern California, and it had a little community center where there was a gym and a sauna, and one of the local dads in the area, he and I would meet and have conversations in the sauna, and it turns out that he had a cannabis grow. He's from Eastern Europe, and our kids became friends, and I started hiring him sometimes to work for me in the cannabis space, and he was very crafty, had a science degree, and I just said to him one day, I'm like, I'm making my living in the cannabis space, but I've always been much more of a mushroom guy. I'm not a really big weed guy. I think it's great medicine for people. It's great recreation for people, so much better than alcohol and so much other stuff. So I have no problem with weed, but it just was never great for me. I would get a little paranoid, or I'd eat too much. It's the old college football player would just nonstop. So I liked psychedelics a lot. I had very powerful experiences on mushrooms as a young person, and a few other times that stayed with me. And the term microdosing had started to been tossed around. So I said to him, this guy who was my friend, I said, I'd be much more interested in kind of getting into the mushroom space. And he's like, oh, I come from 4 generations of mushroom foragers. And he was a good cannabis grower. I'm like, you think you could grow mushrooms? He said, yeah. So I started funding him out. And literally within a couple months, he was just extraordinary. We're bringing over genetics from all over the world. We were making hybrids. We were growing particular strains. I was in my mid-late 40s at this point, and I had a lot of work to do, a lot of life still to accomplish, kids and a wife and everything. So I was looking to optimize in a way with basically no side effects, with only an upside. And I had been doing a lot of research into the psychedelics and psilocybin as a microdosing supplement, and literally the best nootropic in the world. Nootropics are the category of supplements that are for neurocognition and brain performance. And psilocybin is the most extraordinary nootropic, literally known to man. So he said, yeah, I think I can do this. And he just took off, man. It was like ancestrally he had come home. And I was so busy in the cannabis space that I was just kind of limping the brand along in the development and the research and the combination of other amino acids and nootropics and herbs, like how to combine these things for our different category that we were going to do. But once the cannabis space collapsed and I was essentially ruined, I'm like, okay, I got to go. So we met with through a wonderful coincidence, I met with a guy here who had a son who's a marketing and Shopify expert, and then he built up our website platform, built up our internet sales, and started to really coach me on how to get exposure in that area. The quality of the product is such that, thank God, we've just kind of taken off and we've been doing very well.
So you've started the business while you were doing the other thing,
yes.
And you also it started taking off a little bit more. How did you validate the idea at first? I mean, how do you know that somebody's going to buy this when you start something like this?
Well, we were just beta testing it. We were developing, and I was just when I was going to the farms, and I was going all through Humboldt and Mendocino County and Sonoma County. When I was visiting on my farms, I'd just be handing these things out, and they'd be like, God, trimmers are the rooms where they're trimming the cannabis. So he's like, I'm giving this to my trimmers, and like they're performing better, they're getting along better, they're not having this infighting. And I gave it to a couple veterans, and they're like, I'm sleeping. One guy said I stopped having night terrors. His night terrors were so bad that once every couple of months, he'd literally attack his spouse in his sleep. He's like, that went away. I'm sleeping better. Anxiety disorders. We had a divorcee who was suicidal. She said, I'm not thinking about committing suicide. So we just started getting all this anecdotal feedback, because along with the mushroom science and the brain science I was researching, though I'm not even close in that space. Like I want to be completely humble. Like there's so many better brain and mushroom experts in the world than me. The one thing maybe that I might be the category leader in is one-on-one conversations about how to microdose. I've had over 3,000 of those now, maybe 3,500. We've sold close to 20,000 units, and the first third of those were all just selling by hand. We really built it like the old-fashioned way, just getting the feedback and finding out what works, and we stay very connected to real-time experience.
What was the hardest part of getting everything off the ground?
Building the market and educating the space, converting and educating the consumer that this is not some stony, shroomy, this is life optimization. And to realize that there is like a real category there, like you can microdose psilocybin as the ultimate form of supplementation. But then once that happened, the word of mouth just starts to spread. We leave the secret ingredient off the labeling and off the packaging for obvious reasons. I think your audience will understand that. I speak freely on the podcasts, but we couch certain language. When we get our Shopify annual assessment, like they've never seen numbers like this. Our conversion rate moves between 5 and 10% depending on podcast or sale. And our repeat business or one-time buyer to subscriber, we're at about high 60s. It fluctuates because they give you real time, but we tend to be right around 66% in terms of our repeat customers or conversion from one-time buyer to subscriber. And then there also could be some counterindications. If you've been on antidepressants, SSRIs or SNRIs, if you have compromised digestion, a lot of antibiotics. But if you have patients, and we'll go through the coaching course, or I have people call me or reach out to me directly through the website, and I always get back to them. Like we're almost at 1,000% in terms of like having these products be successful for people. We're approved by multiple veterans organizations, preferred products for combat-related stress disorders and so forth. So it's been really good, very heartwarming. It's the best work I've ever done. I'm on fire. I love it.
What was your first breakthrough with the business where you thought, man, this thing's going to work?
My first breakthrough, there was a couple. I had a guy that I would work with in Northern California who was a highly accomplished boxer and a mixed martial artist in jiu-jitsu. And he had a pretty traumatic, upbringing and so forth. So he was a terrific guy, but he had a share of emotional issues, and he had tinnitus or tinnitus, the ringing in the ear. 3 days into BrainSupreme, it's like, Adam, I feel better than I've ever had, and my tinnitus went away. I'm like, oh wow, we're really onto something. And then I gave the product to a Vietnam veteran who hadn't slept well in 40 years and had, suicidal thoughts every day of his life. And he's like, Adam, I'm on day 3 and I haven't thought of killing myself. Like, what is this? So I'm like, whoa, like something's going on here. That's really good.
You mentioned there was some iteration along the way. Can you share what feedback shaped your product the most?
Yeah, just trying to, first we were growing like 4 different mushrooms. Certain mushrooms kind of have certain qualities. Some are like more like ego death, super powerful. Some can be a little more playful, colors and laughter. It depends. So we were trying to find like the perfect combination for microdosing. And then we had this glorious mutation where the 4 different types of mushrooms that we were growing kind of mutated into one just beautiful looking specimen. And we were able to propagate that one, spore it out. And so we created a kind of proprietary type of mushroom. I say that, but, basically God gifted it. The mushroom gods, gifted that to us. If you're getting, 70, 80, 90% feedback that, oh yeah, this is working, I'm feeling better, like you're on target. So that, that took some time, and not just solely relying on the psilocybin, but the synergistic blending that we were doing. That was about a 2-year process to really hone that in.
How did your business start to really take off? You mentioned selling 20,000 units. Like, how did that happen?
What's interesting is Sam Tripoli, the comedian Sam Tripoli, and his podcast Tinfoil Hat. We were cruising along, 10% growth every month, and I met a podcast booker, or my marketing guy met a podcast booker who got me on the Sam Tripoli podcast, and that guy has an adoring fan base. Basically, we took off. We did $117,000 in sales coming out of that. And, we have a 66% subscriber rate. So that just started it all. So, we were churning around like 4,000 or 5,000 a month. And all of a sudden we just jumped. We grow by 240% a year. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah, it's terrific. Thank God. So we're on track. We're very grateful. But it was literally Sam Tripoli and the Tinfoil Hat podcast. And what was really interesting about when I was creating the business, I created like my archetypal buyer, and I was figuring male, like the Joe Rogan listener, a little bit conspiracy, a little bit life optimization, wellness. But what ended up happening, the wellness space is crowded. It's filled with experts. The conspiracy space, these people are so overwhelmed by the insanity of the world we're living in. And literally, microdosing psilocybin is spiritual sustenance. Like, it will help anchor you and keep you on track. I mean, the basic science of psilocybin is that it moves the brain in a beneficial direction, whether you're cognizant of it or not. And if you're cognizant of it, it'll move the brain in a beneficial direction a little quicker. So we connected in the conspiracy space. I've been on almost like every conspiracy podcast, and they made up my bread and butter, and then it's just been spreading from there as well. But I literally credit Sam Tripoli to this day for that brought our business to the next level.
I want to go through some financial benchmarks here. How long have you been in business?
We're in our 3rd year.
3rd year. And how much did you make your first year with the business?
I think we did about 150,000.
150,000. And if you're okay with sharing the numbers, how much did you did the 3rd year, or how much do you expect to do in your 3rd year?
We're gonna just nose over $1 million this year.
Nice.
Yeah.
So starting off 85,000 and start up 150 the first year, just over $1 million the 3rd year. That's outstanding.
Yeah, we're doing well.
What was the hardest moment in this entire journey for you so far?
Basically rebuilding my life and my self-confidence after the calamitous cannabis losses. I made so many business mistakes. I was a yoga teacher and a writer, and I would do some business writing for my dad's company. So I had basic intelligence and sales skills kind of naturally, but when it was good, it was just crazy. Like, we were making so much money, and I could be so generous with everybody. And, when I went in to buy the farms, people were like, I want to invest. I'm like, yeah, sure. There's enough for everybody. I mean, like an idiot. There's no crop insurance in the cannabis industry. So, and farming is hard, man. Like, it's really, really hard. And the Northern California culture is really hard. Like, I was so naive. And so when, I lost everything, like literally like everything. It was like Breaking Bad is how bad it was. So rebuilding my self-confidence to really be a CEO and be a founder and have the confidence to direct the company. Like that was the biggest hurdle for me. Like I had night terrors and night sweats. I was so emotionally traumatized by that experience that was, regaining my confidence and to really lead again and have some vision. We developed the Genius, our flagship formula, in conjunction with the cannabis industry collapse. And it allowed me to compartmentalize my stress, manage 3 or 4 hours sleep a night, send my family out of Northern California to Texas and rebuild my life. Like I credit that entirely. Like my personal story is a BrainSupreme success story.
Adam, what has this business now made possible for you that wasn't possible before?
I taught yoga for years, and I was like a celebrity yoga teacher. It was classes were mat to mat. I was a very, very popular yoga teacher, and I never meant to be a yoga teacher. Like I was a Big Ten linebacker. I had 20 tackles against Ohio State in that stadium. So I had been to my athletic peak, and they'd come up to me and they'd be like, "You're changing my life. These classes, your little bits of wisdom afterwards." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, thanks. That's great. Thanks." It didn't mean anything that much to me, but now I got a message yesterday. I took a mountain bike fall. I had a concussion. Like I did 3 days of Black Stack and I'm all back. Like I have no concussion symptoms at all. Black Stack is our extra strength product. Like the guy's like, I'm back to work. I'm feeling great. Thank you. I got another one from, a woman who's been depressed, suicidal. She can't function in her life. And like, she's functioning. She's like, I am functioning. I'm kind of happy. I haven't been kind of happy. I can't remember. Like it really means something to me now at this age. That we're contributing to people's health and well-being and I'm making a living for myself and my partners and the few employees that we have. So
where do you see this business going in the next couple of years?
I just here's the thing. Like I swung for the fences before. Swung. I just want to keep hitting singles, man. I just want to keep hitting singles. I have this thing with man's law and God's law. I've tried to stay so aligned with God's law that, am I making a quality product? Am I serving my customers? Am I being good to my partners and my employees? Like just God's law, God's law, God's law. But I just want to keep hitting singles. I just want to keep making great products. We just launched a complementary product that has no psilocybin called MaxStack: mushrooms, adaptogens, aminos, cacao. So in a base of ceremonial cacao and Ceylon cinnamon, we literally have 24 different ingredients that complement a micro and a macro dose. So you add it to your coffee. You got to add a little sweet to it because you're going to get a little vitamin taste at the end. But like, it's an incredible product for, energy, focus. It's adaptogenic, so it goes in, it'll boost your immune system, neurocognition, performance. Like the feedback's been great. So I just want to keep making great products, serving my clients and my customers. I just think like, what's our next marker? Where are we hitting? What are we doing? How am I communicating with my customers and clients? Do they understand the products? Do they understand how to use them? I'm much more like myopically focused.
Adam, you built $1 million business. What advice can you offer other store owners at this point?
So, well, one, you got to grind and you got to stay connected to feedback. So I was a novelist. I wrote, like I said, so there's this thing when you're writing a novel where it's like delusion, connection. Delusion, connection. So like you got to delude yourself when you're writing, when you're in the creation process, that what you're doing is incredible and it's important, it's going to be valuable. So you have to have this connection of egoic engagement in what you're doing and the belief that what you're doing is valuable and important. And you got to be connected to your feedback. You have to have this balance of both and be of service. That's the thing that I always think about. Like how can I always be of service?
You brought the value. Really appreciate it, Adam. How can people connect with you?
I answer literally every email almost instantaneously. I do this. I have a signature at the bottom saying I use a voice to text, and there might be some punctuation and spelling errors, but it's very prompt and personal customer service. Just have a sense of humor about it. So I get in touch with everybody almost immediately. BrainSupreme.co. BrainSupreme, basically, you'll find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that kind of stuff as well. But really the website's the best way to get a hold of me, brainsupreme.co.
Adam's story is about so much more than money. He's been a filmmaker, a writer, a yoga instructor, and now he's running $1 million e-commerce brand that actually aligns with who he is and how he wants to serve people. His journey is a reminder that you really can find a deeper calling inside an e-commerce business when the product and mission match your own story. Adam's offering a 15% off discount to anyone watching or listening. There's a special link in the description and in the show notes. If you want to hear another powerful founder story, this time about a team of entrepreneurs who built a hit backyard game, check out my interview with the creators of Paddle Smash. Next, just click on the thumbnail. All the best.